Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eat with Sandhya. This is one of a 10-part series that I wanted to do, and this is going to be 10 lessons, 10 meals, and 10 conversations I hope that we'll have with each other. I partly wanted to do this series because there are a lot of myths around eating, and I feel in some ways if you're sort of overwhelmed about your fitness or wellness or mental health journey and just don't know where to start, sometimes food can be a good place for us to start, because one, eat we must, and two, a relationship with food we definitely have from the day that we are born, and it's one that we don't often pause to think about or reorient and really examine where we stand with food today and what serves us, right? So many of our beliefs and our rules around food came to us at childhood, at birth, perhaps even before, because we know that in vitro as well we start to adopt some of the tastes that our mothers may have had. So safe to say it goes back a long way. And personally for me, I don't know about you guys, but work from home, while it's been wonderful for introvert extroverts like me, it's also been somewhat lonely. Food is, at the end of the day, quite a social experience, and I've really missed having conversations over meals. I'll say that 80% of my meals are had alone because of a variety of circumstances, and really for us to reclaim the joy of sharing a meal together, and also hopefully if this is going to be at the same time every day for the next 2 weeks, this is a golden opportunity for you to set some practices into place. We know from behavioral science that just 2 weeks, and although I'm not doing live on weekends, I promise you I will help you with hacks, techniques for how to handle the weekend, right? So this is as much for me as it is for you. I'd love for us to enjoy, share a meal, even if it's not your meal time. Go ahead and get yourself a cup of something to drink, or a piece of fruit if you have, or a snack if you might have. The joy, let's reclaim the enjoyment around food. Let's redefine our relationship with food, and let's also perhaps demystify and clarify some questions that we might have about food and around food. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a nutritionist. I don't write diets, but what I do call myself is a person that works with first principles, right? So if you want to get like the basics, I'm a great person to have a conversation with. And the second thing I will say is that while there are a lot of sort of must-dos and should-dos, and we know how the media loves to report, this is the new superfood, and never do this, and do these 5 things if you want to lose belly fat, and I also look at all these articles, because it is attention grabbing, right? That's the very nature. These headlines are meant to grab attention. It's not called clickbait for no reason. These will make us feel like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. It tyrannizes us about our food, and it makes us feel also overwhelmed sometimes, like you just don't know where to start, and it sounds like there are too many rules and too many things to do, and it's too complicated a science, and you're never going to get it right. So use these 2 weeks to demystify, simplify, and pick what's a good starting point for you. The bottom line, if there's one sort of non-negotiable rule I will state, it is that no one size can fit all. All right, so start with that. This is a chance for us to, and the way we learn, progress with anything is to first start with like self-reflection. Look at where you are today. What are your struggles? What's your environment? What's your reality? What are your needs? What are your wants? What are your likes and dislikes? We'll go into a little bit of likes and dislikes as well, and then we understand a little bit about what you might need to know that will be helpful. And then of course in the realm of nice to know, it's absolutely endless. So that I leave it up to each of you to pursue as you deem fit. It's going to be out of context or out of syllabus for these 2 weeks here. Broadly, I just wanted to say that I will also use a lot of my personal meals. So welcome to my home. And by the way, I'm sitting in my dining room today. So for those of you that have worked with me know that my house is full of dogs and cats and ringing doorbells. I apologize in advance for any disruptions that we might have. I'll do my best. But I think this makes it also very real. I'm anything but perfect. This is anything but plastic. This is real life. And you'll get a chance to see what I eat as well on a daily basis. It might look very boring to you. But again, anybody that knows me knows that I get extremely excited by food. I have redefined my relationship with food over the years, and I hope for us to bring up some uncomfortable topics around food as well. So broadly, I will be sharing what we're going to be talking over the next 10 days. I'll give you like a bird's eye view. Tomorrow we'll talk about the macros around food. Now there's very little science. There's a lot of nice to have information around it, right? So let's just get the science of it. Is rule of thumb usually not going to be very exciting or very spectacular or very life altering. So it's kind of nice to know what those basics are, and then you can educate yourself further as you deem fit. So macros, micronutrients is what we'll talk about tomorrow. On Wednesday we'll talk about food composition, or what to eat, right? There's so many rules around that. Let's look at what the first principles on some of these are. We'll also talk about some of our childhood associations with don't waste, there are starving children, eat healthy food, what is unhealthy food. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. On Thursday, we'll talk about nutrient timing. Today, intermittent fasting is being touted as like the next miracle cure, the miracle weight loss tool. I have absolutely no good or bad about it. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And we look to see, again, let's strip it down to its basics and let's understand it and see if it's for you. It might very well work for you, but how do you ask yourself the relevant questions to see if this is something that you want to do or not? On Friday, I would like to leave you for the weekend. So we're going to talk about how to handle rest days, weekend bust outs, whether we need to do a detox after we have one of these binge events, how you're going to deal with cravings, our tastes, and then all the wonderful temptations that the world seems to be offering us. I think I'll save conversation for what we're going to do next week for later. Broadly, we'll talk about food allergies, superfoods, religious beliefs and foods, veganism, raw foods, GMO, non-GMO, some of these ideas. But above all else, I would like this to be a celebration and a chance for us to truly nourish ourselves as deeply as we can with this process. And like I said, for us to share something together. So here goes. All questions are welcome. No questions are taboo. If you feel awkward to ask me any questions on a live session, you know how to find me. Please drop me a DM. I'll be happy to bring it up anonymously if you request it on the next session. But because my hands are also going to be full with eating, I don't promise that I'll be able to address private questions right now. However, I'd also like to take this opportunity to say hello to everybody that's joined us here today. How wonderful to be sharing a meal. I'll start a little bit with my personal preferences, how I eat, what are the things that I have done that have worked for me. This doesn't need to necessarily work for you. But really my theme today was going to be to come mindfully to your meal. All right. If you are familiar at all with the working of the body and stress and food, and now there's so much writing about the gut microbiome and how we have a second brain in our gut, and that our stress here is impacted here. Again, science doesn't know a hell of a lot yet, but definitely there are a couple of things that we do know, that we have two systems in our body, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight, flight, freeze, and the fourth F, fornication, do the math. So all of this require all of our attention. This is going to hijack anything else, any of the other nice to have practices of our body. So while we will continue to breathe and we will possibly hyperventilate when there's a threat at hand, our stress, our busyness, our multiple calls, distractions, all of this mimic that there's an alarm going off in our brain, and my brain will tell me, Sandhya, you know what? Don't pay attention to things like digestion, deep breathing, sensing what's going on with your circulatory circulatory system, oh, that muscle that you pulled in the gym today that possibly needs repair, all of this can wait. There's clear and present danger right now, so let's focus on that. Do you think that can possibly be good for the food that we put into our mouth? Okay, so today, if there's one thing that I'd like to give you as a takeaway, it is that close the other tabs in your life. Food is not one of the things that you can multitask with. The few things, our brain is not capable of multitasking. The one thing that our brain can do, we're very much affected by our environment. So possibly music. If you must, a podcast, if it's very hard for you to concentrate, again, wherever you are, pick the next best option that you have. So if it's very difficult for you to not be on a call, or you really don't know what to do with your brain's just not used to being quiet during a meal, then I'll say, go ahead and listen to something. Watching something distracts you even further, right? You've seen kids that are fed in front of a video. It's like they're mesmerized by the god of electronica while we shovel food down their mouths. That child will never understand, will never develop a relationship with, hey, this is food, this is what it's tasting like, these are my preferences, I think I feel full now. The sight of the food, the smell of the food is going to start giving my brain in a message that, hey, listen, Sandhya is going to start the process of digestion. We're going to start peristalsis. My mouth is going to start watering as it is already, and look at what it's watering for. What I have here today, and again, full disclosure, I am not a domestic goddess. Okay, I'm blessed to have employed a wonderful lady who didn't know how to cook a single item when I first got her. I have taught her in very, very rudimentary terms over the years. My two sons are a lot more patient at explaining recipes to her, and she's truly gifted in making, what we do is work with simple flavors, a lot of variety in our house. And in my house, my husband and I eat primarily plant-based. That's code for we're mostly vegan, but we're not anal about it. And my children, who are out of the house right now, eat everything, and that's their choice, right? Again, all of these we'll discuss later. It's about choice, and I would like to keep that idea with you as well for today. We always have a choice. So what is my lunch today? There is a salad of green mango, tomatoes, onions, and red peppers. I basically ate this at a friend's birthday party, and whenever I see flavors that I like, I literally either take a picture of the food, or I go back and I immediately start Googling like salad with green mango, cucumber, there's cucumber in it as well, tomatoes, blah blah, and you'll get the recipe off the net, right? So it does take a little bit of work to get taste, to incorporate new foods into your palate, but it is totally worth it. Now, this has got chili powder in it. It doesn't have added salt. If we'd added salt to it, it would have all the moisture would start to sort of leak out of the salad. What I do instead, and also as a hack, is someone has gifted me, what is this, chili salt from some Himalayan retreat. Is Himalayan pink salt the miracle cure must have in our kitchen? Not really. Okay, so there's, again, go ahead, whenever you're in doubt, go ahead and Google some of these, but look at the source that you're looking at as well, right? Try and look for a source that, like WebMD, or slightly more evidence-based, like let's see if it's a research organization as opposed to like a flash news website, or one that's not been fact-checked. So what do I do with this chili salt, which is no different to any salt? You can just use regular table salt. I also have somebody gifted me pink salt. There's also regular salt. Okay, I'm going to put the salt on the top of the salad, because what it will do is when in doubt, just think of yourself as a rat. Okay, so my rat brain loves salt because I know that I can maintain my electrolyte balance. My brain will give me a nice dopamine hit of pleasure with all of these flavors. The freshness of food tells me that it's not spoiled. So crunchy, salty, our brain loves. We'll come to sugar later. And I actually don't like eating salads a lot. So what I do is I try and make this like a bowl. My plate is this size. It's a normal 9-inch size bowl. Easy hack. You want to eat less, make your plate size smaller. Okay. I like to put all of my food at one go because I kind of have a sense of what the weight of my food should be or what the distribution of my food should be. We're almost out of time today, so if anything, I'm going to show you my plate composition. This is a mixed veg korma that was made at breakfast. We'll come to the foods and gravies and stuff a little later, not for today. But rule of thumb, I'm going to fill about 45% of my plate with vegetables. Now, whether you're vegetarian, non-vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever other tarian, the rule of thumb is that if your plate is 45%, your plate ought to be like 45% vegetables. It's not quite yet, but this is because my dal also has vegetables in it. Now, rule of thumb for dal, think of it as like 50% protein, 50% carbs. So that's some of your carbs as well there. In a nutritionally balanced diet, you'd have your plate 45% full of vegetables. Protein would occupy 25% of your plate, and carbs 25%, and then trace degrees of healthy fat. So there is some tadka in my dal. Obviously my korma has fat both from the oil that some of the stuff was fried in, but also from the fat from the cashew that's in it. I am not on a calorie deficit diet, so and this is Karela, bitter gourd. This also has some oil to fry the onions and tomatoes. This would be a little bit more on the oily side, so I'm restricting the amount. Do I eat carbs is a question I get asked all the time. The answer is yes. Usually for lunch, I'll do 2 quite heavy rotis. I'm capable of eating much more, but I'm aware that I don't need more. So I've accustomed my brain to saying this much is enough. But these rotis will typically be made with as varied a variety of grains as possibly can. So this I'm going to guess is bajra, or is it jawar? Okay, so and we sometimes mix grains as well. Because it's been lying open before the video, it's looking a little dry, but otherwise I just literally we put it into a casserole and wrap it in cloth, so it doesn't need oil to stay moist a long time. So today I'm not going to actually have time to eat with you, and really you really don't want to see those horrible views of eating like that as many of us have had to endure in like Indian weddings. But I'll invite you to close other tabs in your life, in your day, on your devices. Bring yourself fully present to your meal and see if that makes a difference. Take 15 minutes to have your meal and see how you feel. Let's come back tomorrow and talk about it then. Thank you for joining me today. Monday to Friday up until the 27th of May. My birthday is also going to be there in between, so happy to celebrate that with you. I hope to see you tomorrow at 1:35. Bye-bye, everyone.